UFC 268, Usman versus Covington 2 takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card. And what an amazing card this is as well, stacked top to bottom with great fights. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of CJ Vergara versus Ode Osbourne, an amazing fight to start off the card in the flyweight division. I'm going to trust in CJ Vergara. He's new to the UFC. He got a great KO on the Contender Series not too long ago. This season, in fact, it was an amazing KO as well. Knees to the body in the first round. Brutal finish against Bruno, who's a decent fighter himself, 12-3 on the Contender Series as well. I really like this guy's aggressiveness in the first round, and he's got a lot of power because he finishes a lot of his fights. The last 5 fights he's had, he's won all of them, and he's finished all of them as well. He's got a flying knee finish. He's got a knee to the body finish. He's got really debilitating knees. Ode Osbourne, the favourite in this bout, last got finished by a flying knee. I know it was Manel Cap. It was Manel Cap, and Manel Cap is very good. And Ode Osbourne was looking okay in the early rounds of that fight as well. However, Manel Cap does like to build himself into fights usually. He got a first round KO here against Ode Osbourne. But Ode Osbourne, that flying knee KO loss was 3 months ago, dude. You're going to James Vick yourself here. Please don't do this. He's lost a couple of fights in his career by submission. Once to Brian Kelleher in the UFC as well in his debut. He got guillotined in the first round. Manel Cap, of course, got that flying knee over him as well. 3 months later, you're turning around against an explosive, dangerous guy with powerful knees. Why are you turning around this fast? It wasn't like a TKO to body shots that you received. It wasn't that you got, just caught with a punch, started to get tired a little bit, and then you got TKO'd against the canvas. Like, it was a flatline KO to a flying knee, dude. You need more time off than 3 months, plus you're a massive guy for the division, and you're draining yourself down to flyweight. You need to be able to be taking shots, and I don't think he's going to be properly prepared here. I'm going to take the underdog in CJ Vergara, which I very much like the sound of, because I don't know why he's an underdog here. I know Ode Osbourne might technically be the better fighter here, but circumstance-wise, I think CJ's got all of the momentum right now, and I don't think that Ode Osbourne's got this one in the bag. This is the first KO loss of his career, and he's turning around 3 months later. I don't like it. I think CJ Vergara is going to get in the clinch, land some big knees, maybe finish him with body shots against the cage. Ode Osbourne's going to get rocked with a knee to the face or something like that, and it's not going to go well to him. Plus, Ode Osbourne's one win in the UFC so far is against Jerome Rivera, who was one of the shittest fighters we've ever had on the roster. So, I'm trusting in CJ Vergara here. Let's move on up the card to another fight. Melsik Bagdasaryan versus his opponent, his new opponent, Bruno Souza, who's his new opponent, because, of course, it was supposed to be TJ Laramie. Laramie pulled out with a bacterial infection. Now you've got this matchup. Bruno Silva's actually a really dangerous guy. He's taken this one on short notice. He was not preparing for a fight, but he did have a fight a few months ago in August the 27th. Beat the guy by unanimous decision, went to a bit of a scrappy fight with him. He's got a decent ground game. He's got a decent stand-up game. I don't see him too amazing anywhere. He has beat some decent opponents, but I don't think I'm going to trust him to beat Melsik Bagdasaryan here. I like the look of Melsik Bagdasaryan. He won his first fight on the Contender Series. It's one of his first tests of his career. Won his second fight on the Contender Series against a bit more of a test, and he looked great there as well. Got a finish in that fight, earned himself a UFC contract. I trust Melsik Bagdasaryan to be a guy who's going to rise up the featherweight rankings. He looks amazing on the feet. I think he'll get this one done. I just think he's better at stand-up than all of these guys, and his ground game seems okay. It doesn't seem like he has a massive problem down there. He seems like he recovers well. He understands what's going on. He doesn't leave himself in too many bad positions. I think if it does get taken to the ground, he'll work his way back up to his feet. And on the feet against Bruno Souza, I'm definitely going to be going with Melsik Bagdasaryan here. I think he'll also get a TKO finish. He just looks great, and he has a kickboxing background. He has a boxing background. I believe he was at K1 for a moment as well. I trust Melsik Bagdasaryan here to get this one done against Bruno Silva, his short notice replacement. Plus, of course, short notice replacement, you're not going to have the same level of cardio as a guy on a full camp. I know typically I say that and it doesn't go that way, but still it's always a factor that you can throw in one guy's favour. Melsik Bagdasaryan gets this one done. If it goes the distance or if it's a quick TKO, Melsik is the one who wins. Moving on up the card, Aleksa Camur versus John Allan. I'm going to go with Aleksa Camur here. I actually really like Aleksa Camur, and I thought he beat Nikolai Negumereanu as well, because I think he clearly won that fight. He outlanded Nikolai Negumereanu in 2 of those rounds. I thought they should have given him that fight, but it was very, very close. I understand. Nikolai's quite good now. He just slept TK Villanueva. Fair enough, there was some controversy, but before the finish, he was beating the hell out of TK Villanueva. He dropped him beforehand. Just some of the final blows that were somewhat blocked were landing to the back of the head. I get it, but Nikolai Negumereanu is a dangerous guy, and Aleksa Camur went toe-to-toe with him for 3 straight rounds. John Allan Arte, now I get it. He's only lost to the GOAT Roman Dolidze. I'm not going to hold it against him, but he didn't look that good against Roman Dolidze, and I don't know how it was a split decision and by a guy. Roman Dolidze is a guy who slows down in his bouts. That's typically what he did. He did it against Trevin Giles. He slows down. He almost did it against Laureano Strapoli as well, but just held him against a cage. He doesn't have the best cardio in the world. And for you to be the guy gassing out against him in the later rounds, I believe he even took that fight on short notice as well, by the way. I don't like that for John Allan here. He has beaten some decent guys in his career, but it's kind of hard to tell in the higher divisions. You've got 9-4 opponents, 8-4. There's not a lot of like undefeated streaking opponents that are very good now. I know Aleksa Camur hasn't beaten that many amazing opponents as well, but he beat Fabio Charant, who's a decent fighter. He beat Justin Leday, who was 9-2 at the time, who's not a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but he got those wins. He's fought William Knight to a close decision, but lost. Got out-grappled there. He fought Nikolai Negumereanu. I thought he should have won that one, and he trains at Strong Style MMA and Fitness, which is Stipe Miocic's gym. I trust him at a good gym. He's very fundamentally sound. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's got a solid chin, solid cardio. I reckon he beats John Allan in the later 2 rounds to a decision win, 29-28. Moving on up the card to another fight. Gian Villante versus Chris Barnett. I'm going to go with Chris Barnett here. I trust Chris Barnett to get this one done. Listen, I know it's a joke because he's just so morbidly obese and hilarious looking, but he's actually really good at taekwondo. He's really good at stand-up. I know he had a decent fight with Ben Rothwell in that first round before he started to really badly go into basically cardiac arrest in the second round, but he took that fight on short notice. He hadn't fought in a while before then either. It wasn't like he was active and he just got pulled from another fight card to take on Ben Rothwell. He wasn't really scheduled for anything. Then he got put in there with Ben Rothwell, lost that one by second round guillotine choke. Gian Villante does not give a fuck about his career, so it's hard for me to put money behind him. I thought he was going to look good in his last bout at heavyweight against Maurice Green. I thought that was a free win. I thought it was also a free win in his more recent one, against Jake Collier. He just doesn't fucking show up in shape at all. And it's so hard to trust him at all, because he just doesn't care about his family. I know he keeps saying, I've got a wife and kids now, I've got to feed them, I've got to put food on the table. You're showing up like a fat shit every time, and we know you as a guy in shape. Chris Barnett has always been a chubby guy. That's kind of his build. He's a big guy, and he's quick for a big guy, and he's got big power because of it. Gian Villante doesn't really have too much power. I know he beat Corey Anderson, but it's Corey Anderson, you know what I mean? Gian Villante, of course, is the lineal light heavyweight world champion, but I do believe that he's going to lose this one to Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett's good. He's got a decent takedown defense game. I don't see Gian Villante getting this one to the ground. And Gian Villante goes into cardiac arrest against Maurice Green and submits himself to a choke that doesn't even fucking exist. So I'm going to go with Chris Barnett here, winning this one by, let's say, first round KO. Chris Barnett's dangerous on the feet. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a fucking wheel kick, in all honesty. Let's go wheel kick. Spinning back kick to the body, KO from Chris Barnett. Gian Villante's got a soft body, got finished there against Alexi Juk as well. I'll go with Chris Barnett with a spinning back kick. Moving on up the card, Ian Garry versus Jordan Williams. I think this is a no-brainer. Jordan Williams lost to CM Punk in his last fight. Now, I'm not just going to base this on that, because he also did beat Ramazan Kuramagomedov. So it's very hard to pin this guy down, because sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad, sometimes he fucking beats Gregory Rodriguez by first round KO. I don't believe he's going to be KOing Ian Garry in the first round. Ian Garry is very good. Let's just say it how it is. He's very good. He's not just a hyped up prospect with a big name. He's actually really, really good. He beat Jack Grant, who's a really good regional contender in the UK. Scored him over a decision unanimously. And Jack Grant's got great jiu-jitsu, great grappling. He's a big guy for the division as well. Tried his takedowns in there. Couldn't really get him on Ian Garry. Ian Garry survived on the ground. He's shown a multiple faceted game here as he's came into the UFC. He's got KO ability. He's got footwork. He can take a decent shot. I don't think he's got a granite chin by any means, just looking at the shape of his fucking head. But he can take a decent shot. He's got good head movement. He's got great cardio. He's already been 5 rounds against Jack Grant more recently for a championship bout at Cage Warriors. trains at a good gym, Sanford MMA. He's made that move. He's training with guys like Vicente Luque and Gilbert Burns. He's gone to a gym as a welterweight with 2 of the top 5 welterweights in the world in there, on the mats every day that he's working with. I trust Ian Garry to get this one done over Jordan Williams. Yeah, Ian Garry's got this one in the bag, I think. It's a close fight, though. Could be risky in the early rounds. Jordan Williams does have a little bit of power, but watching him get knocked down by Mickey Gall and submitted afterwards. Mickey Gall's good, but Ian Garry's one of these new age guys. He's had a lot of amateur bouts. I think he had more than what's even suggested on a Tapology, which is 6. He's had more than that. Had a few pro bouts as well now, 7-0. I think he goes in there with full confidence and beats Jordan Williams in the first round by TKO. I just don't trust Jordan Williams here. You're getting knocked down by Mickey Gall, who's okay, but Ian Garry's actually pretty good. He's beat good opponents. He beat Rostam Akman, who took Jake Matthews to a decision on short notice. He beat him in the second round by a head kick KO. He's very good. He beat great opponents earlier on as well in Matteo Seglia, who's 4-0. Mateus Figlak, who's 2-0 now, but now in his career is 6-1. Went on a 4-fight win streak since that loss. Has been looking amazing at Cage Warriors. Ian Garry's good. I trust him in all areas, and I think he'll get this one done by first round TKO. Moving on up the card, Philip Hawes versus Chris Curtis. I'm going to be going with Philip Hawes here. I get you can pick Chris Curtis, but it's not smart to do so, I don't believe. He's a big underdog. I get it. It might be tempting when you look at the odds and see that a guy's a massive underdog and maybe he can pull it off. And, well, the odds, there's a lot of good value here on Chris Curtis, but I just don't see him doing it against Philip Hawes. He's got a reach disadvantage, a massive size disadvantage as well. The last time he fought, he weighed in at 170 pounds. He was a welterweight. He is a welterweight. He stepped up on short notice for a card previously where Phil Hawes was supposed to be fighting, I believe, Deron Wynn. In comes Chris Curtis. And I think he's just signed a bad matchup for himself. And I think Phil Hawes is going to go out there and do what Phil Hawes does and gets a KO in the first round against a not quite ready Chris Curtis. The same way that maybe who was the guy that Philip Hawes KO'd that was on Robert Whittaker's team? It was Jacob Malkoun. Came in a little bit hesitant. Phil Hawes will put you out every time. He beat Nassourdine Imavov. I know he cheated in that fight massively, but still, he beat him. And he made it competitive anyway, and Nassourdine Imavov's very good. He beat Kyle Dorcas, who's very good as well. I trust Phil Hawes here to win against Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis has lost to many opponents before in his career as well. 34 years of age, got a reach disadvantage, got a size disadvantage, isn't the most athletic guy anyway. He beat a couple of decent opponents in his last bouts, but none of them are really like great fighters. 15-6, 25-14. They're positive records, but they're not really like going to blow your hair back. He lost to Ray Cooper by KO, a smaller guy with, I believe, less power than Phil Hawes. I think Phil Hawes is going to get the job done against him and get him out of there by first round KO. Moving on up the card to another fight, Edmen Shahbazyan versus Nassourdine Imavov. Now, the majority of Tapology users are picking Edmen Shahbazyan here. I'm sure they like him as an underdog maybe. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't just look at the odds and then decide who I think is going to win. The odds do say that Shahbazyan's an underdog, and he's actually quite a good underdog in all honesty because he's a very good fighter, Edmen Shahbazyan. I know he lost to Jack Hermansson, but he had a decent fight with Jack Hermansson. I believe Nassourdine Imavov is one of these new guys, and if he didn't take that Phil Hawes fight on short notice, and also if he didn't have cheating against him in that Phil Hawes fight, where Phil Hawes grabbed the cage about fucking 50 times while trying to push Nassourdine Imavov against it. He even came back in the third round of that fight and rocked Phil Hawes badly and almost got himself a 10-8 round before they ended up clinching again and Phil Hawes ended up grabbing the cage again to help himself survive. I trust Nassourdine Imavov here. Great cardio, great body work, solid chin, big guy for the division, a lot of reach. He's got a reach advantage over Edmen Shahbazyan. I don't see Shahbazyan grappling with him. The 3-round advantage does go to Edmen Shahbazyan because he doesn't have to worry about going 5 rounds. Very, very beneficial for him because he is a guy that slows down. But even in a 3-rounder, Imavov fights at such a crowding pace like he did against Ian Heinisch, keeps the pressure on, goes for body shots, chops you down, breaks you down, eventually gets to finish. I reckon he'll eventually close the deal in the 3rd round against Edmen Shahbazyan. He has great 3rd round ability. He's got solid power. He can take shots on the chin well. He's got a reach advantage on the feet. He's amazing himself. He trains at a great gym, MMA Factory. I know Shahbazyan's good, but Imavov's a safe favourite in my opinion. I reckon he gets this one done. Maybe loses the 1st round whilst landing body shots and leg kicks. Goes into the second round, they grapple a little bit early. Shahbazyan's still doing quite good, but now Imavov's starting to take over in the later half of the round. More body shots, more leg kicks. Shahbazyan's really gassing in the third. I think this will be it for him. He's lost his last few fights by gassing out. I think he's going to be in the back of his mind the entire time in this fight, and I reckon Nassourdine Imavov's going to get him out of there in the third round with a body shot TKO. Moving on up the card, Iaquinta versus Bobby Green. Bobby Green, how are 39% of you experts picking Iaquinta here, man? I think he's going to get his face peppered off by Bobby Green. Bobby Green is really good. Bobby Green beat Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises took Makhachev to a fourth round. Makhachev destroyed Dan Hooker in one round. You know what I'm saying? I know that's not how you do it, and that's real MMA algebra right there, but still. Iaquinta, he's good. But I just don't think he's in it for the right reasons anymore. Bobby Green's still got to get his money. You know what I mean? Bobby Green doesn't have a real estate agency and business on the side that's doing very well for himself in. He hasn't made the championship money for taking a fight on short notice against Khabib, which I believe Iaquinta was paid very, very handsomely for as well. He's had big fights, Iaquinta. He's had a lot of fights as well in the big spotlights. He's made good money. He's got some bonuses as well. I reckon Bobby Green's still hungry for it. He lost his last fight to Fiziev. But again, Rafael Fiziev, he basically could have won that maybe. In the first round, he outlands Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev wins the first round by landing more powerful shots and visibly looking like he's doing better as well, because at one point Green turned his back on him and Fiziev was mocking him from behind and landing big shots. But Bobby Green's really good, guys. He arguably, you could, in an alternate universe, he's never lost other than to Dustin Poirier. Bear with me here. Rafael Fiziev could have gone to him. Thiago Moises should have gone to him. Trinaldo could have gone to him. Drakkar Klose could have gone to him. Probably should have gone to him as well. Rashid Magomedov probably should have gone to him as well. Like Edson Barboza. He probably should have lost that one, but still, he landed more shots than Edson Barboza, significant strike-wise, in 2 of those rounds. Very close fights with a lot of great opponents. I reckon he's going to go out there and put on an amazing performance against Iaquinta, and I think he just gives him brain damage for 3 rounds. I'm going to call like a 30-26. First 2 rounds are somewhat competitive, but Bobby Green's getting the better of it as the rounds go on. Starting to win, starting to land with volume, kicks to the body, 1-2s, jabs on the face of Iaquinta all day. Iaquinta throws a couple of shots back. Gets a takedown maybe for a split second, but Green defends. Iaquinta starts to slow down. His nose is busted. His eyes are starting to swell up. All of his cuts that he's had previously in his career are starting to open up as well. And Bobby Green starts putting it on him in the 3rd round to get himself a 10-8 round and make it a bit more guaranteed that he'll get a decision win. And I think he wins this one 30-26. 10-8 in the 3rd round. He's peppering up Iaquinta's face the entire time. I trust Bobby Green here. I think he's actually a really underrated fighter. And I think he's still got it as well. Plus, a little bit of a reach advantage. Moving on to another fight on the card. Andreas Michailidis versus Alex Pereira. I am going with Andreas Michailidis here. Alex Pereira's good at kickboxing. Andreas Michailidis can grapple a bit. We saw that in his last fight against KB Bhullar at the end of the 1st round. If KB Bhullar doesn't end the round there, and the round doesn't end with the horn going, he might lose that fight by rear naked choke. Andreas Michailidis took him down. And I'm talking got a takedown on KB Bhullar, who's been training MMA for a decade. He's been learning how to defend takedowns for a decade. And Andreas Michailidis got a single leg on him whilst, and by the way, this was whilst KB Bhullar had like an underhook and a whizzer on one side as well. He had like good structural defense, but still Andreas Michailidis forced that single leg, turned KB Bhullar around, took him down in the center of the cage, and just started smushing him on the ground a little bit, landing big shots. He took his back, put the body lock in, tried fighting for the rear naked choke. I don't see Alex Pereira surviving that if it goes to the ground. Andreas has been training grappling for a decade now. Alex Pereira, I like him. He has been in MMA for a while because he's had some fights that have been quite spaced apart, and it's kind of hard to tell when he started because he kind of dips his toe in and then goes back to kickboxing again afterwards. That's not good to me, in my opinion. He's beat a couple of guys in MMA. He beat a 6-0 Marcus Vinicius, which is a good win, by the way. Not a bad win. The guy's now 39 years of age and 11-5. Maybe he beat an older guy who was never really that good, crushed a couple of cans, and now he's been found out as a bit of a bad fighter because he lost another 4 in a row and another 4 fights afterwards. He beat 8-7 Marcelo Cruz. Do I care? No, not really. His last fight was against a fighter who was 4-4, Thomas Powell, who's now got the grand old record of 5-5 after winning a fight by being kicked in the head and KO'd illegally whilst having a knee down on the canvas. Like, I'm not going with Alex Pereira here. He's been choked out in his previous fight in MMA by Queltem Otoni, who's now lost 4 fights since then as well. He's now 11-3. He was undefeated at the time of beating Alex Pereira in MMA. I just don't trust this guy to win this one. I think the grappling is going to be a big problem. Andreas knows what he needs to do. He'll go out there. He'll grapple with Pereira. And I think Pereira is going to fail at the first hurdle. Let's not forget, he had an MMA bout in 2020 November. Did he stay training MMA after that? No, he didn't. No, he didn't stay training MMA after that. Andreas Michailidis has got a solid chin, a weak back of the head. That's the only time he's been finished in his career from illegal back of the head shots from Modestas Pekauskas that were never called that anyway. He also has a great win over KB Buller. I know it's not a great win because KB Buller is not the best fighter in the world, but he's an MMA fighter, and he showed that he could out-grapple him there as well. Andreas Michailidis is going to take this guy down, I believe. Alex Pereira, Thomas Powell in November of 2020, and then he went on a kickboxing spree against Artem Vaktikov. You're not focusing on MMA right now. You just finished a kickboxing training camp in September. Now it's time to get back into grappling again. I think he's going to get out-grappled by Andreas Michailidis and get rear naked choked in the first round, and Israel Adesanya is going to tweet something like, "This ain't for everyone, chief," or something like that, in my opinion. But it's because Israel Adesanya, let's talk about his career. The guy who lost to Alex Pereira, of course, as we all know. He beat, like, Kenan Song. He was fighting, I can't remember who he was taking on in his career earlier on, but he fought a lot of good opponents in his career on the regional scene. A couple of undefeated opponents on the regional scene. Before he even came over to the UFC, he beat 8-1, Murad Karamagomedov. Like, he beat a lot of good opponents, like, who had good grappling to test himself before he even came to the UFC. Pereira is 3-1. I think he gets rear naked choked in round 1. Moving on up the card to another great fight, which is Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vera. Kicks off the main card here. I'm going to go with Marlon Vera, and I think I'm going to go with him by decision here, and I think it's going to be a brutal beatdown, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 29-27 unanimous decision win for Marlon Vera. Edgar's going to take the first round, maybe, using the grappling techniques, getting Marlon Vera down against a cage, landing a couple of flurry and punches and some good combos, winning the grappling exchange in the first round. Vera's going to keep getting back up to his feet, landing elbows Travis Brown style, kneeing Edgar in the body, chopping at his legs from range, landing big shots at range as well, slowly marking up Edgar's face. Edgar will barely win the first, maybe, on some scorecards by getting the takedowns, landing total strikes, maybe passing over into half guard, landing a couple of strikes there, but I think Vera's going to be too tough to finish. I don't see him being finished here, and if I don't see him being finished, I think he'll eventually wear on Frankie Edgar, start to damage him with body shots, start to cut open his face with elbows, start to rock him here and there in the fight in the second round. Then in the third round, I think it's going to be a 10-8 round from Marlon Vera. He's going to be the one landing big shots in the third round. Edgar's going to be shooting takedowns for his life, trying to get something to happen in the third round with his grappling. Vera's going to stuff them all, end up on top. Edgar's going to roll to his back. Vera's on top, landing big shots of ground and pound in the third round. I can see this being a 29-27 unanimous decision win for Marlon Vera. He gets this one done. Plus, reach advantage, even a size advantage, despite Edgar coming down from a bigger division. And Edgar's just coming off that brutal KO loss. And it's the first time I've seen him switched out cold in his career against... Oh, no, he beat Pedro Munoz, didn't he? No, Sandhagen, his last loss. KO'd in the first round brutally. Chin gone, in my opinion, maybe. 40 years of age now. He didn't beat Pedro Munoz. It was one of the biggest robberies I've ever seen in my entire life. It was Munoz 4-1, pretty clearly. But you know what? I like Edgar. I wouldn't mind if he wins this one. I like Edgar. I hope he succeeds, but Vera's got this. I don't see him being finished, and if he doesn't get finished, I'll see him wearing on Edgar and just being the better guy on the feet at range in general, and landing more damaging blows even if they are on the ground. Moving on up the card, Vera gets it done. Shane Burgos versus Billy Quarantillo. I'm going to go Shane Burgos. I'm going to go Shane Burgos here. Billy Quarantillo is a decent underdog because of Shane Burgos' one thing. When you see a guy get KO'd like that against Edson Barboza, where they don't even get hit by a punch, they just switch off because their brain says we've had too much, essentially. It's worrying to trust them taking shots moving forward. But Billy Quarantillo is not the biggest power puncher in the world, okay? He does have some power. He KO'd Kyle Nelson in the 3rd round. He just beat Gabriel Benitez, but that wasn't really by KO power. It just he had his back. He was landing shots over and over again, and Gabriel Benitez just couldn't escape the position. I don't see him KOing Shane Burgos. He'll try and grapple. Shane Burgos showed great grappling in the 1st round against Makwana Mirkani, who did get him down in moments, and I do believe Makwana Mirkani would win the 1st round of grappling, even against Billy Quarantillo like Spike Carlisle did. But Burgos showed great grappling defense there. Stayed patient, never gave up any position badly, never gave up his back, never gave up a mount or anything like that. Stayed on his knees, kept up against the cage, kneed the body, landed shots, and he's got a 5.5-inch reach advantage here. That's a big deal for a guy in Burgos who does get hit quite a bit sometimes. He doesn't have the best head movement. The fact that he's now got a 5.5-inch reach advantage over Billy Quarantillo and a size advantage in general, I don't see Quarantillo winning this one. I'll say it'll go to war for 3 rounds, but Shane Burgos will be the one on top of it, and I think he'll win this one. 29-28. One of the rounds going to Billy Quarantillo for a split-second takedown and a few shots of ground and pound. But overall on the feet, Shane Burgos is going to be picking him apart, landing good body shots, landing leg kicks, and just beating Billy Quarantillo at range. Shane Burgos gets this one done, 29-28, but I'll give a round to Billy Quarantillo. I trust in Burgos to win. He's had a bit of time off since that Barboza loss as well, if you consider Barboza fought Chikadze, a month or 2 ago. So Shane Burgos had a little bit of time off, coming back at the end of the year here. I reckon he gets this one done. Moving on up the card, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. See you at the top. I'm picking Michael Chandler over Justin Gaethje. I've changed my mind. Every time in history I've changed my mind on a pick, it's been wrong. Bet at your own will and your own risk, should I say. Michael Chandler, I think, has got this one in the bag, man. I keep rewatching Gaethje versus Khabib, and it was just so easy. Khabib did not have ease against any other opponent in his career, and he had a broken toe in that fight as well, and a bad weight cut, and he was dealing with the death of his father, and he still went out there. And Gaethje looked like a white belt on the mat, and it's been something that I've assumed about Gaethje for a very long time, and I actually picked Khabib by, I believe, 1st round submission at the end of the 1st round. Gaethje got saved by the bell at the end of the 1st round. I said Khabib would struggle to get Gaethje down in the first place, maybe, but when he gets him down, which he will, because Gaethje gets tired out counter-grappling with people, when he gets him down, I said Khabib's going to make Gaethje look like a white belt on the ground and pass right over his guard and get whatever he wants. And that's exactly what happened. People do get Justin Gaethje to the ground. People do well against Justin Gaethje. He beat Tony Ferguson. Great win. I think his new style of fighting, which focuses more on creating range, being the smarter fighter, not being the wrecking machine that comes forward and lands bigger KO blows. I think Gaethje's a bit too reserved now. He's looking for the perfect shot rather than the big power shot. I think he's going to get outpowered by Chandler. And Chandler has the option to go for a takedown and try and get this to the ground. And Gaethje knows that that's what Chandler's going to try and do here, I believe. Chandler's going to get respect on the feet in the 1st minute, then try out a takedown maybe. And I think that being in the back of Gaethje's mind could lead to him getting flatline KO'd in the 1st, could lead to him getting hurt to the body, because Michael Chandler's got one of the nastiest straight right hands to the body in the game of MMA. Justin Gaethje has shown that he is prone to body shots in his career. We saw it against Eddie Alvarez. We saw it in moments against Dustin Poirier as well. I reckon Chandler's got this one. Trains with Michael Johnson. Now you could say Gaethje trains with Usman, who used to train with Chandler, so that's going to be a bit of an advantage for him, but I don't think he can learn. And I don't like the inactivity of Gaethje. Sitting out on the sidelines, complaining about this, complaining about that, while doing nothing the entire time, other than try and renegotiate a deal. He has not fought in over a year, or it will be over a year since he has fought, by the time the event comes around of 268. And I reckon he's going to go in there a little bit less switched on as maybe he should have been, get cracked by Chandler early, get body shotted a couple times by Chandler, try chop into the legs, but Chandler's in and out movement I think is going to be a bit too much. Chandler's bigger. He's got a reach advantage as well as a shorter opponent, which is never nice to deal with for a bigger guy. A bigger guy trying to find his way on the inside of the reach of a shorter guy with big KO power. I don't like it for Justin Gaethje. I think Chandler's going to stick a couple of straight right hands to the body early, a couple of front kicks to the body as well to lift up that lead leg so he doesn't get calf kicked either, which is going to be a good move for Gaethje if he does get them off. If the rounds go on, I do trust Gaethje to win this one. But I think Chandler's going to be beating him in the early rounds, even if Gaethje does win. I don't think Gaethje can afford to be being beaten with his ground game and how shit it looked again. Khabib's good on the ground. I get it. should not be waltzing over your guard like that, like you're nothing on the ground to him. McGregor stopped everything in the first round. Now, fair play, he did a couple of bits of shorts grabbing and this and that. Poirier didn't get submitted in the first round. He had moments on the ground with Khabib and did okay against him. Everyone has done okay against Khabib. It's eventually Khabib gets the rear naked choke whenever they're tired of defending against him. Gaethje looked like a white belt on the mat, like he's never done jiu-jitsu in his life. Chandler knows that. He's going to earn respect on the feet in the first minute. Take down Justin Gaethje afterwards with a blast double leg. Gaethje's going to pop right back up, but Chandler's going to stick on him. Chain wrestle, because that's one of the best things that Chandler's good at in his wrestling, is his chain wrestling. You see the flow grappling drills that he does with Usman. He's all over the place. He's rolling here. He's rolling there. Going back in on a single leg. Rolling under. Getting a double leg. Going for a body lock. Like, he chains things together so well. I think he eventually will get the back of Justin Gaethje after rocking him on the feet early. And I think he'll get a rear naked choke in round 1 or 2. I'm calling it for Michael Chandler. He knows what to do here. And I think he's going to implement that game plan perfectly. Justin Gaethje loses this one by being over hesitant and not being as switched on early because he's been out for over a year. Michael Chandler gets this one done. Moving on up the card. Rose Namajunas versus Weili Zhang. I'm going to go over Rose Namajunas. Mainly because, also by the way, Chandler's a massive underdog. That's why also I'm looking at that. I think this is like an evens bout. Chandler a big underdog? Give me that shit. Now, Rose Namajunas, Weili Zhang. Rose is evens. If Zhang was like an underdog, maybe there'd be a question in my mind like, oh, but is she actually a bit better? She's coming off a KO loss. Rose Namajunas is coming off a KO win in the first round. Zhang was seemed as invincible before that loss. She's never been KO'd in her career. She's only lost once in her debut and it was a decision ages ago. She's probably even forgotten about that one. She was invincible in her mind, okay? Never going to get KO'd. I'm going to walk through everything. I'm the Terminator of this division. She was basically the Piotr Jan of the strawweight division. She gets KO'd in 1 round. The mindset of her turning around after that loss, I don't think she's going to be okay. And plus, she was saying about how the crowd booing her was a big problem. What do you think the pro-Rose Namajunas crowd are going to do when Zhang Weili comes in and she's openly said that booing makes her fight worse? And everyone in the crowd wants Namajunas to win, they're going to boo her again. And if that's a problem for her, I just don't think she's going to handle the situation well. She had bulletproof mindset before. Rose has lost before. She's come back. She's done that her whole career. Lose one, win a bunch in a row, lose another one, start winning a bunch more in a row. I think she's known how to bounce back a bit better. She's younger as well. She's bigger by far. I didn't notice that until they actually did face off the first time. It said they were only an inch apart in height, but apparently they're about 2-3 inches apart in height, it seems. Rose Namajunas got a reach advantage as well of 2 inches. And although Zhang was getting the better of her, it's clear that Rose has a grappling advantage that Zhang's going to have to worry about. It's also clear that Rose Namajunas is younger by far, motivated again to win the belt and do some defenses, training with Trevor Whitman, who's a great coach, and she has a KO win in her last fight and took no damage. Zhang had to recover from a KO loss, and when you're getting KO'd at women's strawweight, you shouldn't be getting KO'd at that weight division. And Namajunas did it to her. And I don't think her mindset's going to be right going out there this next time with the thought in her head of, I can be KO'd at any moment here. Rather than the thought the first time where I'm going to steamroll this girl. I just steamrolled, or not steamrolled, went to war with Joanna and Jacek and came out on top. I steamrolled Jessica Andrade in the first round and Namajunas almost lost to her in the rematch. I think she's going to be coming out there a bit more timid, a little bit more frail, a little bit unwanting to trade with Namajunas. And I think it's going to lead to a Namajunas, I'll say 3rd round rear naked choke. I think they'll be doing a little bit of pitter-patter on the feet. Nothing too crazy going down. Namajunas barely outstriking Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili having some moments of her own. But eventually Namajunas is going to start to land the bigger shots. Catch her a couple of times, wobble her a couple of times. Then the 3rd round happens. They end up in just a random exchange of grappling. And this time Namajunas gets the back, gets the body lock, and gets a rear naked choke. I'll do double rear naked chokes back to back on the main card. Chandler gets one. Namajunas gets one in the 3rd round. Moving on up the card, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. I'm going with Kamaru Usman here by a 4th round KO victory. I think he'll win this one by body shots and a big shot upstairs as well afterwards, but I'm going to play out how I believe the fight goes. First round, I think they're going to be even on the feet. I don't think Usman's stand-up has developed that much. It has developed, but he's taken on Burns, a lightweight, who's a jiu-jitsu guy really as well, when you think about it, you know? And I think Covington, just knowing that he can't be taken down by Usman, or won't be grappled by Usman, it gave him that confidence on the feet. With Burns, he was worried about what Usman was going to do. With Masvidal, he was worried the whole time about the takedown. Like, I've got to stuff the takedown. I've got to stuff the takedown. Boom, big right hand, out cold is Masvidal. I think Covington not worrying about the grappling gives him that advantage on the feet to make things close. I do believe Usman's improved his stand-up massively. His body shots have gotten better as well. His single shots have gotten better. And I think that Covington's going to blast a double leg in the first round, get Usman down for a second. I don't think he's going to keep him down, and I think that's going to discourage Covington in the first round. But I reckon I'll give the first round to Colby Covington, and people are going to be saying, oh my God, this is why we made this matchup. He's the only guy who can take out Usman. Well, Chimaev probably going to beat all of them in a few years. But Covington is the only guy who can beat Usman right now. This is why the matchup was made. This is real competition for Usman. Second round, Usman starts finding the body shots that he found in the third round of their first fight, and I want to talk about this as well. Usman found a problem in Covington's game in the middle of their first fight. In the third round of their first fight, he slowly started to figure out, hang on a second, this guy's so open to body shots. So open to body shots. The third round was dominant from Usman. I thought Covington could have won every other round, by the way. 1, 2, and 4. But Usman found body shots in the third round in the middle of their fight. Look at the Stipe Miocic-Daniel Cormier fight. He figured out body shots in the middle of the DC fight in the second fight, after being beaten early on. Now, in the trilogy with DC and Stipe Miocic, Stipe went straight to him immediately, and it changed the aspect of the fight, and DC was more patient. He didn't want to get caught by them. He was more at range. It wasn't as high-paced. It wasn't as action-packed. DC couldn't just walk through him anymore. I think Usman, knowing that that problem is there, he's going to start with it straight away. Front kicks to the body, jabs to the body, straight shots to the body. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage, which just gives him a bonus bit of a beneficiary there in the bout, because, like, it's just straight up a built-in advantage that he has. 4 inches of reach over Colby Covington here. I don't even know how Covington was jabbing with him if Usman has a 4-inch reach advantage, in all honesty. But I think maybe it's a lot to do with the shoulders of Usman, and maybe not so much to do with the arms, maybe, because Covington's got quite narrow shoulders. But Covington's not that big. Usman's bigger. Usman's more powerful. He can keep up in cardio with Covington. He goes to the body a lot, so even if he can't keep up in cardio, he can wear Covington down enough to where he can. Usman's going to do a bit better this time. Hurt Covington to the body in the second round. Covington's going to then lose the third round as well, quite badly. Try shooting again. Have some moments where he has one hook in on the back of Usman, landing a couple of total strikes, but Usman again works his way back up to his feet, lands some knees in the clinch, a couple of elbows, more shots at range. They start brawling back and forth at the end of the third round. The fourth round happens again. This time, Usman front kick to the body. Covington's hurt to the body again. Straight shots to the body from Usman. A jab upstairs lands from Usman. Usman ducks low, level change. Big right hand straight on the chin of Covington. Puts him down. Usman finishes him off for good this time. Gets on top. Covington tries to reclaim guard. Come up on a single leg. Usman takes half guard. Pushes Covington back down. Elbows. Big shots. Covington rolls over. He's covering up against the cage. Usman's got wrist control. More big shots. A legit TKO finish this time. Not an illegal one like last time. Usman will get this one done with no controversy, in my opinion. I hope. No controversy. He'll win this one cleanly. He won it the first time. And I think he'll win this one again, but this time a bit earlier in the fourth. But I think Covington's going to come out there with like a blast double leg, a couple of throws, a couple of hip tosses, some different things. I think he'll kick a little bit more as well, and I think because of the difference that Covington will bring, it'll just sort of make Usman not get the immediate KO. He'll have to think about things, take it a bit slow, wear down Covington, and I think he gets it done. Plus, Usman's out activity these contenders again. Covington has not fought in ages, so what do we do with him? I don't know. He hasn't fought in ages. He should have stayed active against Leon Edwards. Usman's been active. He just beat Masvidal. Before that, he fought Burns. You got a champion out activitying his contenders here. He's supposed to be the comfortable one that fights once or twice a year. You're the hungry contenders. You're supposed to be out activitying your champion. You know what I mean? But no. Covington sat out and did nothing. I don't think that's going to benefit him at all. Maybe he wins this one, but I've got Usman winning. Plus, there's always that mental advantage in the build-up, in the trash talk, in everything, in the face-off, in the fight itself, in the build-up, when they're both in the cage looking at each other. Usman knows he beat Covington. Covington knows he lost to Usman. Fight starts. You know what I mean? It's just that little mental edge as well that's just going to make me more confident in Usman. Fourth round KO. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.